Okay, we are live. Now, while waiting for everyone to, if there's anyone to join, I'm just gonna quickly go in and see if everything is okay on my end. Looks good. Okay, well, welcome to another. This is what we call what was this already? Ask Me Anything Sunday night show. So this is where I come live every Sunday night to answer some of the questions about Facebook ads. Usually, what I'll do is I'll just gather, any questions that I received in the past 1 week from, because I actually receive questions mostly on YouTube and my Facebook group, like where you are in right now. Either side, you guys are perfect. So here's how it works, right? If you have any questions regarding Facebook ads, you post the question in my group or in my YouTube channel, but I will never come and answer your comment. What I'll do is I'll just gather all the questions and answer them here. Okay, so as and when you have any questions, post them away. Don't worry about that. So yeah, and this is a very rare week. It's a very interesting week where I don't seem to have any questions on my hand. It happens from time to time because the idea here is, I would answer your questions, but of course I can actually bring up any discussions. But today, I think since we don't have many questions, I want to dedicate this session or so-called this half an hour to really go deeper about so-called the ads campaign analytics. So for those who run ads, you definitely know that when it comes to Facebook advertising, starting a campaign is just a very, very kind of like moderate start. Because the moment you start a campaign, the next challenge that you will have is how do you analyze the campaign? So that's why I want to quickly let me put this in. I just want to quickly roll in with this. This is the main topic. This is the topic that I want to really dig deeper into today, because the idea here is we want to see if we are able to give you some idea, because 97%, I would say 97 to 98% of the more than 5,000 Facebook advertisers that I worked with in the past 10 years, 10, 11 years, I would say 97 to 98% of them do not know how to analyze. I mean, you may have some basic, as in like, okay, it looks like, first thing first, if you go into the campaign itself, right, it looks like you have got some numbers. Like a lot of people will pay close attention to the cost per result. Like for example, a lot of people will be focusing on, oh, Jason, I think my cost is really coming up in the past 1 week. Now, when the costs come up, what do? I just want to quickly give you an idea. So let's say when your Facebook advertising cost comes up, okay, the first thing first we would actually look into is really the CPM. Why? Because it is really the cost per thousand impression, the CPM, that is causing the fluctuation of cost. So that's usually the first culprit. So let's say, for example, during 8/8, okay, if you run ads during the 8/8 or 9/9 or 10/10 or whatever that is coming up, right? During that week building up to the so-called, let's say 8/8, right? It probably starts from the 1st of August until 8/8. The advertising cost will usually shoot up. And the moment you look into it, you would actually notice that the fluctuation actually happens in the CPM. So, I mean, I'm just going to quickly roll into the so-called since I can do it here, right? I might as well just go into the ads manager and probably give you a better idea. So, right. So when you start running ads on Facebook, okay, you will be able to have, this is a very basic column. So if you go into that, right, your performance column is usually your default column, right? Which you will be able to see like your bid strategy, your budget, your last significant change, right? And your attribution setting, your results, like how many purchase you get, your reach impressions, your cost per result, amount spent and stuff. These are all basic ones. Now, a lot of people would actually look at this. They'll be looking at, the cost per result is coming up. This is ridiculous. So past 1 week, it's not working. So most of the time, what do you do? When it comes to this kind of stuff, when you see your cost coming up, a lot of people will be like, I think the ad stopped working. They will have this concept where I think it's time for me to revisit the content, either to look at the creative again, or I want to start looking at the audience targeting again. So they go back to the drawing board again, they scramble everything, they start from scratch, and then they wait. So what usually happens is the moment you start a new campaign, you usually start a new campaign instead of starting as a new ad set. So what's going to happen is you're just going to just throw away whatever learning that you have achieved for the previous campaign in the past. See, here's what I want to actually probably give you an idea. When you see your cost comes up, the first thing you want to look into is to bring up the CPM. Now, how do we bring up some of the numbers? You come in here, okay, you click on these columns performance, you go all the way down, then you're able to get these customized columns. Okay, so when you're in your customized columns, I'm waiting for it to come up. Over here, right, as you can see, there will be a lot of different metrics, and somebody actually get excited about this. They will be like, wow, this is like a whole new world. You know, I have so much data. Now, here's the thing. You want to look at the right data instead of just scramble on every single damn data available. Because the more you bring in a lot more into the table, to the table, the more complicated it gets. The harder it is for you to actually kind of like really nail down to the meaningful data that is really important for you. So the first one, we would definitely look at the CPM. So let's quickly pull out CPM. All right, so yeah. All right, so when we pull out CPM, it will come out here, right? Then you have this, let's say you know that for this broad targeting, so the CPM is 26 ringgit over here. I mean, I'm actually using ringgit, I'm in Malaysia. So if the first thing first I want you to look into here is if your cost is coming up, you want to check whether is that CPM that is costing. So how do we check? We usually use 7 days as a block. Don't go for like, this is another mistake a lot of people make. Whenever they are running ads, right, they always look at daily. So if one day they are not doing well, they'll be like, wow, very, very worried. You know, if it happens another day that is still not doing well, they'll be like, come on, man, this is really not going anywhere. I'm going to kill the campaign. I'm going to scramble. I'm going to restart the whole thing. I'm going to just, whatever it is, right? So this is the common mistake a lot of people make. And I don't want you to go into that. So when the cost is coming up, when you're monitoring your data, I want you to look at the whole situation in a more objective way. Okay? How to be objective? Very simple. You don't look at 1 day or 2 day or 3 day data change. You get what I mean? Instead, you look at a 7 day block. So I want you to actually keep a 7 day data, let's say Monday to Sunday. So in the previous Monday to Sunday, I want you to look at the average. The cost, the average cost and the average CPM and all that. You have a better idea because you don't jump on things when there is a downtime for 1 day or 2, because most of the time, it is actually because of the periodical change, like we have 8.8 coming up and all that, you know, that is really stirring the situation, that is causing the campaign to stop performing. It is really not the ad itself, because you just imagine, right? You have been running this ad for 2 weeks or 3, for example, all right? It has been doing well. But just because of 1 or 2 days it stopped working, then you just kill it. What are you doing here? You're actually throwing away the past result that this campaign has generated for you. It is working. It has been working for weeks, if not months. And just because of a day or 2, you kill it. I don't think this is a very fair thing to do. So I want you to be very objective. Let's look at the 7 days. So if the 7 days, the data, if you look at it, like let's say, you know, like these 7 days and versus the past 7 days, there are certain fluctuation, but it's okay. It's not that bad. You know, we can still endure it a little bit. We can still keep it going for a little bit, you know. So then you also have to analyze, let's say for the 8.8 week or 9.9 week, the cost come out is because of that. So you know that, okay, this is really something that we need to pull through. You know, it's kind of like a really fluctuation that is caused by the environment, because it's a demand and supply environment on, you know, inside the Facebook ads. The more competitors coming in, meaning that the more money being thrown into the Facebook ads market, the higher the cost gets. It's a very simple equation. So that's the first thing I want you to look into. Really keep a close eye on your CPM, because that is really where you will look into how can you kind of like really pull out the right data. So CPM doesn't have a very so-called industrial, a cross-border or cross-industry benchmark. All you need to do is to really start running ads, okay? And keep an eye on the CPM. Like for now, After running this campaign, I think this is only like a week kind of thing, less than a week maybe, because we were just running it, a couple of weeks ago. So if we look at it, this is the benchmark. So I keep this as a benchmark. Any fluctuation, then we will monitor from there. So let's say, for example, if you do something, or if it comes to a certain point where the CPM jump up to about 40 ringgit, then you know that it's really something that you want to pay attention to. So when there is jump, at least you know what are you looking into. Yeah. So I can see, certain questions coming in. You guys can ask questions, of course. This is not a lesson, because I did not get much of I didn't get much of questions in the past 1 week. So I'm just going to pop by because I wanted to discuss a bit about analytics, because this is really something that a lot of people kind of don't get. So I just hope to really give you a better perspective. So first thing, if you have cost fluctuation, remember to look at your CPM, right? So so that's the first thing. But of course, if you want to be have a better idea about the whole campaign, whether it's doing well or not, because this is another question, another problem that a lot of advertisers are facing. When you're running ads, right, you sort of just look at, okay, the cost per result is happening. I can bear with this. Like, for example, this is about 20 ringgit per purchase. I think it's fine. And my T2 is 12 per purchase. I'm comfortable. But then again, right, have you ever thought of finding out how can you improvise? You see, here's the thing that differentiates between normal Facebook advertisers and good Facebook advertisers. Now, good Facebook advertisers always ask this question: how can I improvise? How can I do better? If I'm actually getting good result right now, meaning that now I'm actually getting good result, what did I did right or wrong? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Is it because of the ad? Is it because of the audience targeting? Or is it because of the objective that I'm choosing? What actually you did right or wrong? On the other side, if it's not performing, then of course we also need to find out what did we do wrong, right? That's why I want to give you a very interesting perspective. So I have this so-called methodology when it comes to analyzing Facebook ads. This is really, I'm just going to use this as an example. You cannot apply this 100% to your campaign, because every campaign has got its own unique so-called, we call this the action funnel. Action funnel means you actually bring out clarity in every steps of the action. You bring it out in a laid out like this on the ads manager to give you a very clear idea on every step. When you're like, let's say, for example, when you reach X number of people, how many percent of them click? Then how many percent of them landed? How many percent of them take the next step, and so on and so forth. So you want to bring out all this data so that you can have better idea on where to tweak, what to tweak. And that's where we call this the action funnel. So I'm going to just use this and give you an example. So I'm just going to switch it over. Now, if you do not know that, I want you to go into, whenever you want to analyze a campaign, you go into custom columns, and you're able to build a lot of things. So once you build the funnel, so-called the framework or the dashboard that you want, you can actually save it. So if in case you haven't explored this thing, I urge you to go into the customized columns. You have a lot of things to dissect, but like I mentioned just now, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to get carried away by too much crazy things that you want to track. So you want to track the right thing. So I'm going to show you what is an example of tracking the right thing. Okay, so this is my campaign. All right, guys, feel free to pop your questions, because I didn't get many questions. I didn't get any questions last week anyway. So I'm just thinking maybe I just want to do a quick sharing or discussion about analytics. So how to analyze Facebook ads is our topic today. It's not entirely a training, but hope to give you a better idea, because that's really something that a lot of people are missing. That's why I'm bringing you right into my own campaign. This is a campaign that I run to get people to sign up to my 3-day challenge. So it's a 3-day challenge that we really work together live for 3 days to build your next so-called money-making Facebook group. So if you miss that, watch out to my email. Then we actually later towards the end of this sharing, I'll be giving you the link to sign up if you want to. So I was actually started experimenting with some ads over here. That's why we saw a bit of like the numbers coming in. Wait, let me see. I can see some comments coming in. I can, So before I continue this part, right, let's see. We have some comments coming in. We have Melvin's question. We have Sri over here. What's up? And yo, Chiwai, what's up? Okay, so yeah, I mean, so basically, okay, I'm gonna go through your questions in a bit. Okay, let's say Melvin is a question. Sri is he doesn't get. Okay, so this is really on Sri side. Okay, anyway, so right. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this one. Just want to give you the concept of the action funnel. Something that I discussed about, you know, if you guys went through my 6-day challenge, I'm not sure. Did I, Chiwai? Sri, did I talk about the action funnel? I did, right? So it's really the method that I use to kind of like find out what did we did right or wrong. Okay, so let's say when I run ads, the first thing first, of course, I will pay attention to the amount spent and the cost per result, but that's not really the ultimate thing that we track. Of course, the cost per result, we need to keep an eye. We need to know that we need to at least stay at a comfortable cost per result, but you also have to 100% understand that you're not paying cost per result. Okay, the cost per result is really only the average cost that you're paying for every result you get. So when you're running ads on Facebook, you're actually paying every time it shows. Okay, every time you show your ad, every time you appear in front of the audience, you pay. So that's the reason why you want to keep an eye on your CPM. The CPM is very important thing. So first thing first, we will look at the reach, because the CPM will decide your reach, the number of reach. So let's say if, so just now we were looking at the CPM was somewhere standing at, where's my CPM? My CPM, how come? Okay, my CPM is 26 ringgit. So averagely, I'm able to reach about 100. I will able to get people show my ads 1,000 times every time I pay. I mean, every time I show 1,000 times, I will be paying about 26 ringgit over here. So I will look at the reach and impressions. Okay, so the reach and impressions is really something that we will actually monitor, and then we will look at the number of clicks that we are getting. But you see, between reach and impression, you also want to keep an eye on one thing that is very important, which is the frequency. Now, if you look at this, I actually pull out another number over here, which is the frequency, you see. Okay, so for any campaign, in my opinion, especially if you use my two-step funnel framework, your T1 must be below 2. If your T1 is above 2, then you have trouble in your exclusion. So if it's actually above 2, I mean, I'm talking about 7 days period. You don't give me the whole like one year campaign, then it's 5 or 6, then you know that's a different story to tell. But we look at a weekly basis, okay? It has to be below 2, because that is really where we want to avoid overreaching. We want to make sure that our tier 1 is constantly reaching the fresh audience. Okay, fair? So if you're not familiar with this two-step funnel framework, guys, I would strongly recommend that you go through my 6-day challenge. It is no longer a live training, but you can still go to my website and join the 6-day challenge. It's a recording of 6 hours in 6 lessons, where I walk you through every single aspect that you need to learn about how to build this Facebook ads campaign using my two-step funnel framework. We have a few of you who actually gone through that. So yeah, I would say if you want to really understand my methodology, you have to go through that. So we will be able to be on the same page, right? So we will look at the frequency. So the frequency has to be below 2 for T1. Now for T2, of course you can be higher, but of course we also want to set a cap. But for T2 frequency cap, it is entirely depending on what is the objective that you're trying to achieve with your T2. Like for example, some of a T2, I'll push it to even over 5, as in like the frequency. Why? Because I want to create a kind of urgency and I want to create a kind of exposure, and it's only for a short period of time. I wouldn't mind doing this kind of exercise. So this is where you do your adjustment over here. Okay. So from there, right? So we want to keep the frequency at the, you know, healthy level. So we will start looking at first thing first. Okay. You see the number of people that you reach and the number of clicks that you're getting and the number of link clicks that you're getting versus the landing page. Now, this is the very basic of the action funnel. So from here, out of how many people you reach, how many percent of them click through, as in like all clicks, and how many percent of them actually click on the link, and how many percent of them landed. So this is where we actually look at the CTR. Okay, now the CTR all is really because when you run an ads, right, there are many things that you can click. So you can click on the picture, you can click on the like button. So these are all the clicks that you get. But ultimately, we also want to drill into the CTR link click, meaning that the call to action button. So that's why I put this CTR all and CTR link click. So I mean, the benchmark, I would say, if you to be on the healthy side, right, your CTR all has to be on the 2% and above. And your CTR link click has to be at least 1% and above. So this is something that I've been talking about for a long time. So if you are not having good CTR, there are only two reasons that might cause the problem. One of them is you have the wrong audience, which I will usually not consider this as a problem unless I truly believe that whenever you're running ads on Facebook, you somehow know who are the people that you want to reach. So usually you wouldn't be really targeting the, super wrong audience. Okay, so if you have low CTR, if you confirm and you're very certain that your audience is the right one, then it should be the ad problem. Yeah, so that's where, I mean, this is on a general perspective on how do we dissect a campaign. So if you have good CTR, then okay, I mean, that's there. And for T2, right, usually you should have even better CTR. You get what I mean? Meaning that, like, as you can see here, I have 4% and have 1.33. So yeah, so this is where actually you keep a healthy campaign going. We usually, okay, we may look at the cost per click or something, which is, of course, that's the kind of like the thing that we want to track. However, it may not be the ultimate thing. So as long as we look at the whole thing, we're comfortable, then we want to get a better flow coming in. So how else can we read from this one? So let's say, for example, your CTR is okay. So impression and reach, okay, we can let it rest. And then we look at the clicks. So let's say link clicks. Now we want to look at the dropout rate. Now, one of the possibility of a trouble campaign, and one of a so-called situation, a scenario, is you may have good clicks, but you have really poor landing page view. That means a lot of people click, but they did not land. So either it's because it could be because you're targeting in a certain area where the internet connection is not that good, or you have a really screw up hosting that is not loading. So yeah, so this could be an angle that we want to look into. Let's say, for example, our benchmark is usually about 50%. So let's say for 60 clicks, we have 32 land, this is healthy. And you have 10 clicks, you have 6 land, this is healthy. But if you imagine you have 60 clicks and you're only like 10 land, then your website seriously have issue. Agree or not? Right? So that's where we actually look into, like, let's say, for example, now 32 land, right? So we will actually look very further to this thing. So 32 land, 27 initiated checkout. So that's healthy, meaning that, okay, the people who got in are the right people because they initiate checkout, meaning that they are interested. And out of which, right, we have about, how many purchase? We have 7 purchase. So 7 purchase means we actually achieve less than 30% conversion rate from this one. Okay, not too shabby, but can be better. That's why our T2 will come in. You just imagine, right? So 27 people who initiated checkout, 7 purchase on T1. And then we serve them the T2, right? 9 of them actually, really initiated checkout again, and 3 of them, so-called, we converted. So at least, right, our so-called our hypothesis that we will actually build over here is, at least out of the 27 people, actually we convert about 30% of them. So that keeps the whole campaign structure healthy. I'll say, okay, that's healthy. We can keep this going for a while. So that's really kind of like the way I read data. But of course, you can use this as a reference. I strongly hope that this gives you a better idea. But every campaign is unique, like I mentioned. So you probably will have different scenarios to look into. That's why, because I just completed a project, I have a bit of time, and I want to build some, actually build some eyes and build some case studies out of this, right? So I just launched a new product. So we call this the one-on-one Facebook ads audit. Now, probably you have actually explored my coaching program, which is, if you want to sign up to a one-on-one coaching with me, the rate is about $200 per hour. But not everybody needs that kind of high-level coaching. That's why a lot of people just want some quick advice and say, Jason, what am I doing right or wrong on my campaign? And how can I rectify it quickly? So this is where I will go in with you on your campaign to do the exercise that we did on one campaign. One campaign. So if you have two-step funnel, then of course we look at the overall T1, T2. If you're not, then we will go in and look at one campaign. So based on that one campaign, I'm going to dissect, I'm going to actually tell you what did you do right or wrong on your Facebook ads campaign. And I'm going to give you actionable insights like how I show you just now. Immediately I can tell you, okay, this is not doing well. This is the number that is really not going anywhere. We need to fix this. So this is a one-on-one Facebook ads audit. I'm not sure how long am I going to keep this open because, like I said, I just completed a major project. I have a bit of time. I can take on a few cases like this. And also, of course, I also want to look at more campaigns so that I want to see, you know, how else can I help more people with this kind of quick exercise. 30 minutes, one campaign or one framework, two-step funnel. If we do, we go in, we dissect, and we get an answer right away. We look at what's right or wrong over there. Okay, so if you're interested, this is the link, FB Ads Audit. Just go to my website, trevoracademy.com/FB Ads Audit. Okay, this is only for a very limited time only. So if you're really keen to find out what you did right or wrong on your campaign, this is the link that you go. All right, so I'm just going to bring this back and look at the questions a bit. Now, the first question we have from Melvin. So what's the difference between Facebook Pixel and Conversion Pixel? You talk about Conversion API, I believe. Facebook Pixel is a Facebook Pixel is very basic. It's a string of code that you install on your website. So if you install it on your website, basically they will crawl on all the data. They will track all the people who come to your site. So if they allow the iOS 14 to actually track, then you will have this. Now that's on the website. Conversion API is something that you install on your server side. Okay, meaning that, you know, it's like a backup. So basically, they are doing the same thing. They're tracking the activities. But if your pixel is not working, then your conversion API can come back and work. So, you know, basic advice that I would actually give is you should actually have both. You should have Facebook Pixel and the conversion pixel. Now, you don't need to track conversion because there is nowhere that you can see how your conversion works. So as long as you have both installed, the moment you go into your Facebook Event Manager, the moment you look at all these things, they will have Pixel plus hosting or server kind of thing, which you have both set of data come together. Yeah, Melvin, thanks for the question. Now we have Sri. Okay, so you want to spend high budget for one particular interest of audience. The system isn't spending even 50% of the budget. If it does, it doesn't get consistent leads. Okay, like I said, if you stay with me up to now, you probably have a better idea about the moment we dissect a campaign, there are many things to look into. Okay, and then especially when you want to scale a campaign, it's never that straightforward. I have a lot of clients that spend high. For example, right, for some reason, we cannot spend more than 200 ringgit per ad set. So if we try to push it further, it will break. So when it breaks, I can see two problems that you're facing right now. First, you're underspending. So when you're underspending, it could be because of your bid. It could be because of the audience. So there are many angles to look into this. On a sentence like this, sorry, I won't be able to help you. But if you really want to look at this problem and you want to find out what could be done, take up my one-on-one Facebook ads audit. Okay, it's a very quick, at least we go into it, I give you the answer you need and you can take some actions on that. Yeah, sorry, I'm not able to do this. You have to look at the campaign. We have to go into this together to look at this. All right, Sri, thanks for the question. And let's see. So that's Sri. And then this is who? This is Chiwai. What's up? So is there a difference between the amount you are being billed in billing and the amount shown in Ads Manager? Because I see there is indeed difference with even I filtered the period. So far, I don't have this problem, to be frank. Yeah. I don't know. I need to check on my side because so far I don't have this problem, Chiwai. But you can, yeah, if you want, we can look at this in a call, but yeah, anyway, so I don't know. To me, I never had this problem. Okay, all right, so okay, let's come back to Sri. You have a pixel installed and also verify your domain, including aggregator measurement taken care. See, your retargeted website isn't firing. Your retargeting audience of website visitors isn't firing. 0 impressions. Okay, you have installed, everything is correct. You see, this is nothing to do with the aggregated measurement and all that. So it's the audience. So if your retargeting campaign is not running, if your retargeting campaign, which is your T2 campaign, is not running, there are only two possible reasons. Okay, first is your audience is too small, meaning that you're targeting too niche an audience, meaning that if you are, let's say for example, if you have a 1 minute video, you're trying to retarget people who watch up to 75%, then in my opinion, it's a long shot because there'll be very, very, very small amount of people actually watch up to 75%. So yeah, your website firing 0 impressions is really the campaign itself. It's not the audience, it's the campaign itself. So the campaign is not running. So one reason is because the audience is too small. So what you can consider doing is you can, instead of retargeting 75%, you put it to 25%. So you can bring in more people. Hopefully it will kick. Now the second way to fix this is really to lengthen the duration. So let's say if you're retargeting for 3 days, for example, people who watch up to 75% for 3 days. Now that is really a bit crazy. So let's say if 3 days, every 3 days you only get 10 people, then of course it won't run. So you either reduce it to 25% or you lengthen it to maybe like what was that? Like 7 days. Yeah. Hopefully we are able to bring in more people. But if both of these doesn't work and you are very sure that you have audience because you can actually look at the video view and all that, right? Then you push the bid cap. So that's the last thing. Usually should solve the problem. Okay, Sri, thanks for the question. And Chiwai is asking this, Chiwai, right? What are your thoughts on this new feature of lead generation campaign under ad set settings? The optimizations is leads versus conversion rate. Leads rather than later performs better, assuming the CPM will be higher. I have no thoughts on this because I have not been running lead gen, but my clients are they are still doing very okay. Nothing wrong. So the optimization, I think the leads and conversion leads, I don't know, you probably have to test. So a lot of times when it comes to this kind of stuff, you have to test. So what I'll do is I'll get my coachee to test moving forward. Maybe I will see what's the outcome. If there's any finding, significant one, then we will actually do that. I mean, yeah, I will share with you guys, but so far I have no opinion on this one, not yet. Oh yeah, Melvin is saying, yes, maybe it's a 6%. Yeah, correct. I mean, yeah, they charge that on top of that. Thanks, Melvin. Thanks for the question. All right, thanks for the update. So Melvin is also having another one, which is scaling a campaign, saying from 200 to 1,000 straight. Is it okay to do so, or could we start on adding 10% each time? It's gonna break. It's gonna break. I can almost certain that it's gonna break, Melvin. So when it comes to scaling, it's not as straightforward. But okay, here's 2 things you can consider doing. You can try to push 20% and you monitor the CPM and CTR and frequency every 3 days. If you see the room, if everything is intact, the CPM is not being shaken too much and the frequency is not shaken too much, you can keep pushing until you hit the ceiling. Until you hit a ceiling. If you hit a ceiling, let's say if you hit a ceiling at 300, then the moment you scale it another 20% to 300 and something, it breaks. Usually when it breaks means the CPM breaks, the frequency breaks, and the result just breaks. So the moment it breaks, then we scale it back. So that's the ceiling. So when you hit a ceiling and you still need to spend 1,000 ringgit, then the next thing that we possibly would do is we break ad sets. So that's what we do. But of course, this is a very basic angle to look at this. But Melvin, if you need help in terms of scaling, I'm not sure whether you know that I have a Facebook ad scaling program, which is a 5-week thing where I work with you one-on-one. I design the scaling framework for you, and I work with you to set up, and I work with you to monitor using the dashboard and all that. It's a 5-week thing where we'll be able to find meaningful framework to scale up to the amount that you want to spend. So that is another angle to look at that. If you're interested, drop me a message on my Facebook page. Okay, so yeah, thanks. And okay, so this is GUI, very easy. Try, probably just tell the client. You probably don't need to tell the client, just try anyway. And it's not 6%. Then you have to find out. You have to check with Facebook. We can't really fix that because on my side I have no issue. Okay, so Sri asks, does the automatic rule of on and off of campaign during specific hours will affect the performance of a campaign? Of course, that's not what we do. Yeah, so we don't actually interrupt the campaign too much. this is really like too micro. The moment you are actually too, wow, it's like inching it to actually do whatever that too much control is definitely gonna shake up the campaign. So it's not really something that you do. So yeah, I would say you probably need some help. You should actually schedule a one-on-one audit with me. So that's at least we can actually look at this in a more objective way. Instead of, to be very frank, Sri, I can see you're like a performance marketer, but we both know that, everybody of us know that these kind of questions will not help me to answer your problem. So if you want to actually look at the problem together, we have to go into that. Okay, yep, I think that's what we have. And yeah, it's 10:35. Right. Okay, so Sri is saying, thanks for answering, no problem. No, it's already a very significant reduce from my 197 per hour session. So yeah, so if you guys are, if you guys are interested, I would strongly recommend that you can actually go into this. I have this one-on-one Facebook ads audit that is really, a 30-minute session, very powerful, where we will go into one campaign. I won't be able to look at our entire ads manager. This is only for one campaign. So you bring one campaign. Of course, if you have the two-step funnel, you bring the whole framework into the discussion call. We look at one thing, okay? And we find out what is the right thing to do in order to improvise it. So that's what we do. Okay? All right, so guys, thanks. This is it. And thank you so much. Thanks, Chiwai, Sri, and Melvin. And see you next week. Thanks. Bye.